Settle in for tonight's sleep story. The Sisters of Shadows, Perseus and the Graeae. In this mysterious tale, we delve into the encounter between Perseus and the elusive Graeae. These elder sisters, keepers of secrets, possess a single tooth and eye that hold the key to unlocking the path to Medusa's lair. Embrace the calming journey into myth and legend where whispers of ancient mysteries beckon. Now, allow yourself to drift gently towards the unfolding of this timeless tale. In the quietude of a spring morning, as the soft hues of dawn painted the village in hues of soft orange and golden light, Perseus found himself at a crossroads. The young hero, brave and determined, had come to know of an unsettling decree from King Polydectes. In the heart of a bustling gathering, the king, with his regal commanding presence, had demanded the head of Medusa, the dreaded Gorgon, as a tribute. The council's murmur swelled with concerns and doubts, for Medusa's reputation was one of petrification and peril. Amidst this, Perseus understood that the task required a heart stout enough to withstand not just the physical journey, but the daunting task of facing a creature whose very gaze could turn men into stone. The air was filled with whispers of fear and hushed debates over who would dare embark on such a perilous quest. Perseus stood quietly, grappling with an inner turmoil. Proving his worth was crucial, not just to satisfy the demands of a king, but to protect his mother and uphold her honor from those who would see her harmed. The young hero's thoughts were like a turbulent sea, caught between the crashing waves of courage and the undertow of anxiety at the thought of confronting Medusa. His mind was a battlefield of proving himself and the silent shadows of fear. One night, as the stars blinked faintly in the clear night sky, Athena paid a visit to Perseus in the ethereal realm of dreams. The goddess, known for her wisdom and strategic prowess, appeared before him in resplendent light, casting an aura of serenity and assurance. Her presence was comforting. Her words were laced with guidance and encouragement. She spoke of bravery and wisdom, of tools and plans, and imbued within Perseus the confidence he desperately needed to embark on the journey that lay ahead. As he awoke, the remnants of the divine encounter lingered, stitching courage into the fabric of his resolve. Not long after, Hermes, the swift-footed messenger of the gods, descended upon the earth to lend his support to the young hero. His presence was like a breath of fresh wind, rejuvenating Perseus' spirits. Hermes, with his swift and strategic nature, came bearing gifts critical for the quest: winged sandals to fly over obstacles, and a curved sword sharp enough to pierce through threats. His companionship brought solace to Perseus, reminding him that while the journey may be fraught with uncertainty, he was not alone. Hermes shared stories of valor and wit, drawing from the annals of the gods, and with each tale, Perseus felt his determination solidify. In the warmth of a reassuring dawn, Perseus finally accepted the daunting challenge laid before him. With Athena's guidance resonating in his heart and Hermes by his side, Perseus prepared to step into the timeless tapestry of heroes' tales. As he strapped on his shield, polished to a warm glow by the early light, and gripped his sword, he molded courage from his internal conflict. The path stretched ahead, golden and serene, inviting him into the embrace of an adventure that promised mysteries and revelations. With heart pounding but steps assured, Perseus began his journey, leaving the hamlet at his back and the vast world of mythic trials before him. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and promise, as the village faded into the horizon behind him. The allure of the unknown beckoned with stories yet unwritten, secrets yet untold. Clad in determination, bathed in the gentle glow of morning, Perseus embarked on his adventure, with a destiny intertwined with the shadows and secrets of ancient lore. With purpose set in his heart, Perseus embarked on his journey alongside Hermes, who had become his steadfast companion. As they left behind the familiarity of Perseus' village, the landscapes before them transformed into a tapestry of mythical wonder. The first days of their travel led them through lush meadows, where vibrant flowers danced in a gentle breeze. The air was filled with scents of wild thyme and rosemary, and the world seemed infinite and welcoming. Yet, as they ventured further, the surroundings began to shift, revealing the various faces of an ancient world long cloaked in the veils of legend. Each footstep carried Perseus and Hermes deeper into lands imbued with enchantment and mystery. The scenery evolved from sunlit fields to shadowed groves, where trees stretched their branches like ancient sentinels. Occasionally, otherworldly creatures flitted in the periphery, their ethereal figures shimmering briefly before dissolving into the dimness. Here, the mundane and the supernatural intertwined seamlessly. Despite the strangeness, Perseus felt a gentle awe in these encounters, as if every element welcomed him into their silent narrative. During these travels, Hermes, ever wise and supportive, filled the moments with stories of times past. His tales of the Graeae, the eye-sharing sisters who guarded ancient secrets, wove a stronger fabric of resolve within Perseus. Hermes described them as beings of cunning wisdom, guardians of knowledge that defied the centuries. The stories, filled with as much caution as awe, emphasized the great care one must take when seeking their counsel. Perseus, listening intently, was reminded not only of the gravity of his task, but also of the powerful allies accompanying him on this sacred journey. The path was often cloaked in silence, offering ample time for Perseus's reflections. Thoughts of his mother, her safety hanging in the balance, anchored his determination. He marveled at the guidance received from Athena, whose presence in his dreams had steered him towards enlightenment. As he reflected, the gravity of the divine aid became clear. Each step he took was underpinned by celestial will, a testament to the interconnectedness of gods and mortals. This revelation imbued him with a comforting sense of being watched over, bolstering his courage with quiet strength. The pair of travelers welcomed dusk as it painted the endless horizon with soft hues of gray and amber. The atmosphere shifted as they approached the boundaries of their destination, the fabled land of the Graeae. Heavy fog descended, wrapping the world in a mysterious embrace. Each swirl of mist seemed alive with secrets, obscuring, yet guiding, their journey. It was as though the landscape understood the purpose of Perseus' quest, shrouding itself in a cloak of expectation. At the threshold of the Graeae's domain, Perseus paused. The edge of the world seemed indistinct, blurred lines that resisted definition, offering a fitting prelude to the encounter that lay ahead. Here, the air stood still, echoing the anticipatory quiet that filled Perseus' heart. Vivid memories of stories shared by Hermes ignited a steely resolve within him. He was ready to confront the enigmatic sisters whose knowledge would be pivotal. Steeling himself for the task and trusting the unseen guardians from the divine with whom he walked, Perseus felt poised, prepared to step deeper into the darkness of mystery the Graeae promised. At this juncture, with the land of the Graeae waiting in profound silence and intrigue, Perseus inhaled deeply. The stories of ancient wisdom and daunting challenges prepared him for this moment. The horizon stretched infinitely before him, a canvas for the unfolding of destiny. With Hermes by his side, the twilight enveloped him like an old friend, cloaked in promises yet unspoken. As they approached the Graeae's domain, Perseus knew that each step brought him closer to confronting the very shadows that held the key to his quest. The world stood quiet, steeped in reverence, as he prepared to meet the four-sided sisters in their realm of fog and whispers. As Perseus, guided by Hermes, stepped deeper into the twilight realm at the world's edge, silence enveloped them like a soft cloak. This place was mysterious, with mist hanging in the air and ancient trees whispering secrets of time. In the heart of this grove, they found themselves before an unusual sight. The Graeae, elder sisters to the infamous Gorgons. Huddled together, They were figures of strange beauty and ancient enigma, each as old as time itself, yet far from frail. These sisters shared between them a single eye and a single tooth, objects of immense power and eerie symbolism. Here, the atmosphere felt both hushed and intense, the air charged with an unspoken challenge. Perseus observed the Graeae from a distance at first, noting how they thoughtfully passed their shared eye among themselves. This peculiar exchange was more than a survival mechanism. It was a dance of mutual trust and reliance, a routine perfected over countless eons. The eye, an iridescent orb, glinted in the dim light, reflecting a history unknown and wisdom unfathomed. The single tooth, equally shared, seemed to bear the weight of their longevity and shared purpose. These items were not just physical necessities. They were the embodiment of their shared power and insight into both the past and the future. Despite his understated entrance, the Graeae sensed the presence of an outsider. Their movements became cautious, the shared eye darting in search of the intruder. Suspicion clouded their ancient brows, and low murmurs filled the air. The Graeae's wizened faces turned towards Perseus, who stood with an air of calm bravery, their uncanny gaze probing the heart of his purpose. Bearing both curiosity and caution, they focused on understanding who dared to intrude into their secluded domain. Hermes, seeing Perseus hesitate, drew him slightly aside. In whispers barely audible, he reminded Perseus of the strategy they had crafted. Perseus knew he needed to approach the Graeae with respect and wit, balancing assertiveness with diplomacy. Hermes' guidance was a tether to courage when fear threatened to overwhelm. Here, words from the swift-footed god served as a beacon of light, illuminating a clear path amidst the surrounding shadows. It was a moment for shrewdness, a time to transform mere bravery into strategic action. Drawing a deep breath, Perseus steeled himself. His presence had already stirred the air, and now it was time to transform tension into opportunity. With calm determination he approached the Graeae, his heart steady but his mind calculating each step and word to follow. Perseus spoke first, his voice gentle yet firm, bridging the chasm of suspicion with his respectful inquiry. His approach was careful, designed to convey his needs without causing alarm or disdain. This encounter with the Graeae, despite the tension stranger to Perseus's usual valor, did not belittle his courage. Instead, it provided a platform for a new kind of heroism, one that involved equal measures of intellect and emotion. Confidence in his own purpose allowed him to project sincerity, a reflection of his quest for knowledge that could alter the course of his destiny. In the ensuing silence that followed his introduction, the Graeae weighed Perseus with their shared gaze, calculating the worthiness of his intentions. They recognized a hero's candor in his demeanor, a vulnerability tempered with resolve. It was here that the seeds of mutual understanding could take root, foreshadowing a potential pact that they alone possessed the wisdom to grant or deny. As dusk gathered around them, painting the grove in dim amber hues, Perseus remained focused, grounded by the steadfast presence of Hermes. This encounter was the brink, the edge not of the world they had traversed, but of the wisdom he sought. Perseus stood equipped with patience and resolve, poised to bridge the two realms he straddled, mortal and mythical. Perseus stood at the heart of the hidden glade, where the air hung still, charged with the presence of unseen forces. Before him, the Graeae, these ancient sisters of shadow, shared a single eye and a single tooth, the very conduits of their ancient wisdom. They whispered among themselves, wary and shrouded in a mystery that seemed as old as time itself. The glade seemed to hold its breath, as did Hermes, the silent observer behind Perseus, whose presence lent an unseen support to the young hero. In a swift and unexpected move, Perseus lunged forward and seized the Grae's eye during their cautious exchange. The sisters gasped, their reaction a mingling of shock and outrage. The Lord of Strategy had caught them unawares, showing the first signs of the resourcefulness for which he would become known. The Grae, now blinded, stumbled back, their voiceless lament filling the air. In this moment, the balance of power had shifted dramatically into Perseus' favor. As the Grae's muttered indignation grew, Perseus held their precious eye tightly within his grasp, his expression one of calm determination. With the eye imprisoned against his heart, he assured them that no harm was intended, only the necessity of his mission compelled such actions. He stood firm, his voice steady and gentle, explaining his dire need for their help in navigating the perilous path to Medusa's lair. The sisters, though infuriated by their loss, were wise enough to recognize the precariousness of their situation. Seeing Perseus's resolve, the Grae's whispers conspired into an urgent conversation, their ancient minds working swiftly. They correctly understood that refusal would only prolong their plight, while compliance might restore them to their full senses. In hushed tones, they agreed to Perseus' terms, providing only just enough detail to satisfy the hero's quest. Their esoteric knowledge, long guarded, unfolded like the petals of a moonlit flower, illuminating the treacherous path that lay before Perseus. The Graeae shared the location of the Hesperides, the nymphs who safeguarded the magical objects instrumental for Perseus' quest. They revealed the hidden route through the twilight of the edge of the world, a place where land grazes the underbelly of the heavens. Their words painted a map of starlit paths and shadows, of challenges and boons that Perseus would need to embrace if he were to fulfill his destiny. Each word spoken was a bead of wisdom strung along the thread of necessity, the clarity granting Perseus a glimpse into the enigmatic world he must soon traverse. Though their secrets had been spilled, the sisters knew they had imparted only what was essential, keeping their oldest mysteries concealed in the fog of time. As they whispered the last of their counsel, Perseus felt the weight of their revealing words settling into his mind, an archive of knowledge stored against future need. The Grae's eye twitched in his palm, a living reminder of the pact forged between him and the timeless trio of wisdom. As twilight deepened, Perseus, having received the needed assurances, returned the eye to its rightful contenders. The Graeae, their powers fully reinstated, clutched the eye with skepticism yet thankfulness, a new understanding having been woven between them. Calmly retreating from the confrontation, Perseus felt gratitude seep into the marrow of his being for the chance granted through wise negotiation rather than force, a testament to his growing maturity as much as his physical prowess. The echoes of the encounter resonated softly in the air as Perseus, now replenished with knowledge and luminous with purpose, prepared to take his leave. With each step directed towards resolution, he held the secrets of the Graeae close to his heart, aware yet of the daunting tasks that awaited him. His path was still fraught with shadows, yet lightness flickered around its edges, foretelling victories yet to unfold. As night began to cloak the world, Perseus looked back once, acknowledging the Graeae with a nod of newfound respect. In their submission lay an unspoken alliance, reminding him of the thin line between fear and understanding. He had gleaned wisdom not only from their tangled prophecies, but also from the challenge of offering respect unto their ancient guardianship. With the twilight behind him, Perseus ventured forward, equipped with revelations steeped in antiquity and the courage to face the Gorgon's gaze. Perseus stepped away from the hidden glade of the Graeae, the weight of their knowledge settling into his mind like a vivid dream. Hermes, ever the steady companion, walked alongside him, his presence a constant reminder of divine support. The two paused beneath a canopy of stars, the serene glow casting a silver sheen over their path. Perseus shared with Hermes the whispers and warnings the Graeae had imparted about finding Medusa's lair, their cryptic words unraveling under the tranquil night. Each piece of information felt like a puzzle connecting the larger picture of his perilous journey ahead. As the night deepened, Hermes and Perseus found solace in a small clearing, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Their conversations evolved beyond plans and strategies, touching on the essence of courage and what it means to truly face one's fears. They knew the path ahead would challenge not just their physical prowess, but also their resolve to overcome the unknown. Hermes, with a thoughtful expression, advised Perseus to balance his valor with wisdom, reminding him of the limitless potential when both are wielded together. In this quiet interlude, Athena appeared, as if stepping out from the very essence of the night. Her presence was both a comfort and a summons to greater deeds. She gifted Perseus a reflective armor, its surface like a liquid mirror capturing the moon's light. It was a powerful symbol not only of her protection but of the clarity he needed to face the Gorgons. Her voice, like a gentle breeze, spoke of the importance of using one's own wits along with divine aid, advice that resonated with Perseus, affirming his determination. With the moon casting its serene gaze upon them, Perseus felt a renewed sense of courage. The armor gleamed as if resonating with his heart's resolve. The night around him became a canvas of inspirational quietude, whispering an assurance of the path he was about to tread. He took this moment to reflect deeply, acknowledging the duality of fear and knowledge that had paved his journey so far. The weight of Athena's wisdom echoed in his mind, blending with Hermes' stories of old. Preparing for what lay ahead involved not just the heart but the body and mind. Perseus trained with Hermes, their movements closely attuned to the rhythm of the night. Each step, each swing of his sword under the starry skies was a testament to his growing mastery. Hermes guided him with patience, his swiftness echoing tales of winged shoes and the swift passage of thought. Their training was not just a preparation, but a ceremonial strengthening of spirit and resolve. The pieces of guidance and equipment now firmly in place, Perseus began to map out his route to Medusa's lair. The task required both careful planning and an unwavering trust in the divine support accompanying him. He traced the stars with his gaze, drawing constellations that would accompany them through the unknown terrains and the thick woods spoke of by the Graeae. His path, bolstered by celestial navigation, was a tapestry woven with the threads of destiny and determination. As the night gave way to the first hues of dawn, Perseus stood poised at the edge of the clearing. His heart was steady, and his resolve was sharp. With Hermes at his side, and Athena's blessings coursing through his veins, he felt a triumphant calm wash over him. The journey to confront Medusa was no longer a mere task. It was his fate, ordained among the stars and whispered by the winds. He was not just ready. He was eager to meet what the fates had spun for him, each step a testament to the legacy in the making. Thus, with the stars fading into the day and the world around him stirring awake, Perseus stepped forward into the morning light. He carried within him the truths and wonders he had gathered from the Graeae's domain, ready to wield them in the coming trials. The journey ahead was illuminated not just by the sun, but by the wisdom of the ages, promising a challenge he was now prepared to embrace fully. Under the moody skies of dawn, with Athena's shield gleaming like a promise, Perseus set forth from the open plain. His path wound through lands that whispered of legends and dreams, forests older than time itself, and valleys echoing with forgotten names. Each step carried the weight of his resolve, steeped in the teachings of Hermes and fortified by Athena's wisdom. The road ahead was lined with challenges unseen, testing not just his strength, but his courage and cunning as well. As Perseus delved deeper into the heart of the mythical world, the land unfurled its secrets reluctantly, hiding them behind shadows. Gnarled trees reached skyward like ancient sentinels, their branches woven into the fabric of dusk. Creatures of the night observed his passage from afar, eyes glowing softly in the twilight. Mythical beasts lingered at the periphery, neither friend nor foe, belonging to a realm where lines between fear and curiosity were blurred. Hermes, swift and silent beside Perseus, offered guidance through gestures and subtle signs, reminding the hero that vigilance and wisdom would be his greatest allies. The journey took them through hidden valleys where the air was thick with the scent of earth and the rustle of unseen wings. Here, Perseus encountered the darkened fringes of mythical lands, where whispers of the gods entwined with the winds. Sometimes, the path would open into a clearing where the sky blushed with the day's last light, painting the rocks and trees in hues of charcoal and deep purple. At these junctures, Perseus would pause, either contemplating his next move or tracing his fingers across the etchings in Athena's shield, drawing strength from the divine gifts he carried. Yet, as much as Perseus felt the fear of what lay ahead, he also nurtured a burgeoning anticipation. The duties of his quest pulled him forward, a thread woven with the desires to protect his loved ones and prove his valor. These desires were balanced precariously upon the precipice of fear, the fear of the unknown, of creatures that could bend reality and confound the senses. Still, Perseus was undeterred, his lineage as a hero too strong to be swayed by anxiety. With each stride, the teachings of Hermes filled the space where doubt might settle. Perseus envisioned the stories Hermes had shared, tales of those before him who had walked similar paths, their courage lighting the way through the dark. Whispered reminders of Athena's strategic insight comforted him, guiding him to focus not just on his destination, but on the means to get there safely. Her counsel acted as a beacon through the murky shadows that stretched before him. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Perseus found himself at the brink of a foreboding forest. It was a land that spoke in harsh murmurings, each rustle of leaves akin to a cautionary tale. Here, the world itself seemed to hold its breath as if aware of the trials that Perseus must face. He paused at the edge, the tangled undergrowth reaching out like wary hands, and took a moment to steady his thoughts. This was the cusp of the land of Gorgons, where no mortal had trod without trepidation. In this quiet solitude, Perseus felt the familiar presence of Athena, not visible, but manifest in the calm strength that settled upon his shoulders. Her strategic advice resonated in his mind, aligning his purpose with every calculated step. The Gorgons' realm loomed dark and intimidating, a theater of shadows promising both peril and triumph. Nevertheless, his resolve was unshakable, buoyed by the shared wisdom of his divine guides. As night fully enveloped the landscape, Perseus advanced with unwavering determination. The forest seemed to part reluctantly for him, forming a path of hidden perils and unfounded myth. He carried forward the essence of what the Graeae had revealed, each morsel of wisdom a light against the foreboding dark. There, on the threshold of uncertainty and history, stood Perseus undaunted by the gloom, led by the indomitable spirit born of valor and necessity. The mythological world cradled Perseus as he continued, a hero in its tapestry, brave and resolute. He knew that Medusa's lair lay just beyond the intimidating forest, where stones whispered of their petrified tales. But Perseus was ready. Alongside him, Hermes served as a grounding presence, a reminder that even in the face of formidable shadows, light could be found. As Perseus pressed on, the echoes of Athena's voice and Hermes' unwavering support formed a chorus within him, propelling him toward his destiny. The shadows stretched long and weary, guiding him to the threshold of the unknown, and to Medusa's ominous lair, the heart of his great trial. In the calm stillness of dawn, Perseus stood at the threshold of the Gorgon's lair, the morning mist cloaking the land in shades of matte gray and dusky pink. Here, in this barren and foreboding place, he knew that every step forward would bring him closer to Medusa, the dreaded guardian of the Gorgon sisters' secret domain. The weight of his task settled over him like the silent fog, and yet a determination as resolute as the glinting of gold in the early light filled his heart. Perseus exhaled slowly, letting the chill air fill his lungs, steeling himself for the trials ahead. Guided by Athena's wisdom, Perseus understood that direct confrontation with Medusa would be reckless. Instead, he had a plan that required both caution and cunning. The shield, a gift from Athena, was not merely a defensive tool but a mirror to aid his strategy. He held it firmly, its polished surface catching the faint beams of dawn, and reflected on the divine gifts that were meant not only to protect but to empower him. The shield would allow him to navigate the treacherous grounds without ever meeting Medusa's deadly gaze directly. As Perseus moved quietly along the edge of the clearing, every sound was magnified in the tense silence. The soft rustle of leaves, the distant calls of unseen creatures. He was not alone in these lands. The shadows seemed alive, each whisper of the wind a warning of hidden dangers lurking close by. The creatures of the dark forest, allies of Medusa, prowled, their eyes glinting in the pre-dawn light. Recalling Hermes' advice, Perseus embraced a calculated patience. Each step was measured, avoiding anything that might alert the guardians of the lair. In his hand, the shield became both guide and protector, its reflective surface a constant companion in the dim, eerie light. Perseus knew that haste could lead to careless mistakes, and his every movement was a deliberate act of strategy. The plan unfolded in his mind like a well-rehearsed choreography. Perseus would use the reflected image from Athena's shield to guide his attacks, relying on the indirect observation to locate Medusa without exposing himself to her petrifying sight. He would move like a shadow, silent and unseen, his presence hidden until the precise moment of action. In the silence of the Gorgon's land, Perseus remembered the words of Athena and Hermes, whose guidance served as the bulwark against his fear. Though the threat was grave, their divine wisdom carried with it a calm reassurance. They had equipped him with the means not only to conquer, but to survive, turning fear into a powerful resolve to complete his quest. With each passing moment, Perseus refined his approach, adjusting to the subtle cues and signals the land offered. The morning air grew increasingly still, as if holding its breath in anticipation, a natural backdrop to his inner focus and resolve. The time was nearly upon him, the confrontation with Medusa imminent. At that moment, the fog began its slow withdrawal, revealing more of the clearing and casting the landscape in a pallor of soft dawn light. Perseus took this as a sign, a gentle nudge from the gods that the time to act was now. He positioned himself strategically, shield poised and ready, awaiting the telltale signs of Medusa's stirring. Perseus knew he must proceed with care, for even the slightest misstep could seal his fate. Yet he stood firm, his training, resolve, and the divine gifts lending him courage. With the shield reflecting the soft gold of dawn, he balanced at the edge of action, every nerve attuned to his environment. The balance between fear and bravery, knowledge and ignorance, was his to maintain as he edged closer to the decisive encounter. It was here, in this moment of poised silence, that Perseus found clarity amidst the tension. The path lay before him, not fraught with overwhelming danger, but illuminated by the knowledge and gifts bestowed by Athena and Hermes. Prepared by his careful strategy, Perseus hovered on the brink of his legendary confrontation, holding steadfast to the balance between light and shadow, myth and reality. With the dim light of dawn casting soft contrasts across the landscape, Perseus moved cautiously into the heart of Medusa's dwelling. The surroundings felt heavy with the weight of anticipation as he ventured deeper into the domain of this fearsome creature. Every shadow seemed to whisper secrets of the stone statues scattered around, each a fallen warrior turned to rock under Medusa's deadly gaze. These silent figures lined his path like ancient sentinels, their expressions frozen in a mixture of terror and surprise, a stark reminder of what he faced. Within the cave, the air grew dense, carrying a chill that seemed to cling to Perseus as he navigated the labyrinthine chambers. The space was enveloped in an eerie silence, broken only by occasional faint echoes of dripping water, distant and haunting. Knowing that each step brought him closer to his destiny, Perseus held the reflective shield, a gift from Athena before him. The shield became his guiding star, a beacon of hope in the darkness that provided a clear, albeit indirect, view of his surroundings. As Perseus inched forward, he kept his gaze fixed on the shield, using the polished surface to seek the reflections of the cave. In this dance of shadows and light, the shield revealed not only the path but also the looming presence of Medusa herself. Her form was shrouded in a spectral light, and her hair of snakes writhed with a life of their own, hissing softly, even in stillness. The sight filled Perseus with both caution and resolve, reminding him that strategy, not brute force, was his greatest ally in this endeavor. The time of confrontation drew near as Perseus manipulated the reflective shield to remain undetected. He could almost feel the intensity of Medusa's gaze, though his eyes never met hers directly. With each careful maneuver he moved with purpose, determined not to become another of the stone guardians littering the lair. Through the reflection, he could see Medusa beginning to stir, her awareness heightened by the faint disturbances in the cavernous space she called home. At the pivotal moment, Perseus steadied himself for the encounter that would determine his fate. As Medusa's attention turned toward him, fully sensing his presence, a tension passed through the air like a silent command. Perseus stood poised, his heart pounding in a steady rhythm that matched the pulsating fear all around. With a practiced gesture, he continued to use the shield, ensuring that his direct look remained safe from her petrifying gaze. In the climactic struggle that ensued, every movement was precise, every decision calculated with the utmost care. Perseus wielded his sword with a balance of strength and agility, knowing that a single misstep could spell his doom. Time seemed to stretch and then compress as their dance unfolded, a measured exchange of steel and instinct that left no room for error. The lair echoed with the soft sound of their engagement, an otherworldly symphony guided by fate's unseen hand. The intense clash reached its peak as Perseus drew upon all his training and the divine gifts bestowed upon him. With a final graceful arc, his sword found its mark, bringing the confrontation to its inevitable resolution. Silence reclaimed the cavern as Medusa fell, her once terrifying presence now tempered into stillness. Perseus, standing amidst the eerie quiet, allowed himself a moment of calm reflection on what he had achieved. The subdued light of early morning filtered into the cave, casting a gentle glow over Perseus and the lair around him. He absorbed the silence, feeling the weight of his accomplishment beginning to settle within him. With the immediate danger now at rest, he took a deep breath, awareness of the events gently permeating his senses, a breath he had unconsciously held since entering the cave. Perseus looked at the reflective shield in his hand, a steadfast companion throughout this fateful encounter. It was the silent guardian that had shielded him from Medusa's deadly stare, an emblem of triumph over formidable odds. With confidence renewed, he secured his treasure, knowing he had to treat it with respect, for Medusa's power lived on, albeit in a different form now. He once again scanned the cave's ghostly interior, a sanctuary that was now more spirit than shadow. With cautious steps, Perseus began his retreat, tracing his way back through the winding paths that had brought him here. The petrified forms served as reminders of hubris and caution, but they also stood testament to hope and victory. As he emerged into the open air, the first rays of sunlight brushed his face gently, warming him with their timeless embrace. His heart swelled with gratitude for Athena and Hermes, whose divine aid had girded his resolve and empowered his strategic mind. Navigating between shadows and light, Perseus carried the weight of both remembrance and the knowledge gained there. Thus, with the battle concluded, a chapter of Perseus' journey closed, yet it was clear many paths still lay before him, ready to be uncovered. His mind shifted to the next steps on his storied journey, aware now that such adventures crafted not just memories for men, but legacies that echoed into eternity. With Medusa's fall behind him, Perseus paused to measure the weight of his victory. The cave, which once held an ominous chill, now seemed a place where darkness had been dispelled by courage and divine aid. As the echoes of his breath faded into the corners of the cavern, he carefully approached Medusa's lifeless form. He reached for a sack, mindful of the power that lingered within the Gorgon's severed head, a trophy of both triumph and caution. The task of handling the head was not one he took lightly. He knew from tales etched in time the potency that the head still held, the ability to turn living beings into stone if gazed upon. As the sun began to filter through the cave's entrance, casting long shadows on the floor, Perseus gingerly placed Medusa's head into his sack, each movement measured and deliberate. The enormity of his actions, the uncertainty of what lay in that head's powers even after its bearer had fallen, impressed upon him the necessity of vigilance and gratitude for the divine guidance he received. Perseus took a moment to reflect on the journey that had led him to this point, a journey filled with tests and trials beyond mortal comprehension. It was a path paved not just by the whims of fate, but also by the courage that resided within him, bolstered by the wisdom of Hermes and the steadfast support of Athena. He remembered their gifts, Hermes' encouragement and Athena's shimmering shield, each an eternal reminder of the god's faith in him. In that reflective silence, their presence felt almost palpable, a gentle whisper of reassurance upon the breeze. He marveled at their timely interventions, at the grace by which he employed their aid. Without their support, he considered, the shadows of ancient heroes might have claimed him as well. Yet here he stood, breathing the fresh air of victory, his heart swelling with an awareness of his newfound power and its attendant responsibilities. With his mind steady and resolute, Perseus turned his thoughts to the journey ahead. Each step away from Medusa's lair felt like a shedding of past burdens and a step into his own light. The path back, though familiar, held new significance, a return not only to the physical world he had left, but also to a renewed sense of self. His accomplishments, etched in the annals of myth, served as a guiding torch for his actions, affirming the worthiness he had long sought to prove to himself, and for the protection of his mother. As the terrain shifted from the somber hues of the Gorgon's territory to the brighter realms of his homeland, Perseus felt the caress of sunlight, warm and reassuring upon his skin. The skies, now unburdened by the weight of conflict, sang of hope and renewal. Each stride forward was a proclamation of his survival, a living testament to the endurance of human spirit when met with divine fortitude. He gripped the sack containing Medusa's head, a soft, constant reminder of what had transpired, of the myth that had become his reality. Alongside physical strength, a profound sense of introspection guided him, offering revelations about balance, the power of the past, and the knowledge now shared within his hands. Perseus voiced silent thanks to Hermes for swift feet that carried him to fruition, and to Athena for wisdom that shielded him from stone-cast fate. Yet, he understood that gratitude must be actionable. Thus, as he made his way back to the familiar landscapes, he resolved to carry their guidance forward, to honor the gifts granted not by complacency in heroics, but in the humility of shared endeavor. As the path before him unfurled, each step drew him closer to home, bringing with it an undercurrent of change, both anticipated and unseen. The world he returned to seemed both the same and transformed by the knowledge and tales he carried within himself. And so, with a heart both full of fulfillment and eager for the horizon, Perseus embarked on the winding, forgiving road he had once known by heart, now infused with the sobering light of his remarkable journey. As Perseus began his journey back from the edge of Medusa's domain, a sense of quiet satisfaction enveloped him. The path before him was bathed in the warm golden glow of the afternoon sun, whispering of the late summer that guided him homeward. Alongside him, Hermes walked with an unhurried grace, offering silent companionship as they retraced the steps back to familiar lands. The weight of Medusa's head, safely secured, served as a constant reminder of the courage and cunning that had seen him through the dangers of his quest. During the journey, Perseus found solace in sharing with Hermes the tales of his encounters and the wisdom he gathered from each trial. These stories, woven with the threads of myth and reality, painted a vivid tapestry of his growth. As he spoke, Perseus felt the echoes of his words, not just as a recounting of events, but as an encouragement to others. Each tale seemed to inspire those who listened, like invisible seeds sowing the harsh yet rewarding path of heroism in the hearts of any who might hear them. Crossing vast expanses of rolling plains and thriving woodlands, Perseus and Hermes occasionally paused to engage with the ordinary people they met. These interactions, though simple, were colored with a deeper understanding of life's interconnectedness. Whether exchanging news with a wandering shepherd or offering aid to a traveler, Perseus found a new kind of heroism in these small, everyday acts of kindness. They were reminders that the deeds of legends were not only forged in the grand battles with mythical creatures, but also in the everyday lives touched by compassion and humility. As they continued, Perseus acknowledged the lessons he had learned during his journey across the mythic realm. He realized that while the challenges had tested his strength and resolve, they had also provided him with invaluable insights. The Graeae, with their shared eye and tooth, had taught him the power of unity and wisdom. Medusa's formidable presence had shown him the delicate dance between fear and courage. Each experience had illuminated a path of deeper understanding, revealing the profound layers of myth that intertwined with reality. Continuing onward, Perseus felt a renewed awareness of how these ancient stories connected to the world around him. Myths began to seem less like distant fables and more like reflections of enduring truths. The narratives he lived were not just tales of adventure, but were woven into the very fabric of human existence, speaking to the challenges, fears, and hopes experienced by all. Realizing this connectedness, Perseus felt both humbled and elevated by the realization of his place within this grand, timeless story. Eventually, the outline of familiar landscapes started to emerge in the distance. The path home was etched with the footprint of his previous life, yet sculpted anew by the experiences and wisdom gained. As the sun arced gracefully towards the horizon, Perseus' heart swelled with gratitude for the guidance and protection bestowed upon him by Hermes and Athena. Their divine support had been vital, yet it was his own courage and determination that had ultimately guided his fate. Finally, as he reached the wide, welcoming sweep of the plains that ushered him back into the embrace of human settlements, Perseus marveled at how everything seemed both unchanged and yet utterly transformed. The plains were alive with goldenrod and vibrant greenery, whispering promises of new beginnings and the harmonious continuity of life beyond the realm of myth. As Perseus and Hermes moved ever closer to the familiarity of home, the sense of completion lingered in the air. Each step was a rhythm, a heartbeat of a journey fulfilled, echoing the eternal cycle of adventure, learning, and return. For Perseus, this was not merely an end but a new horizon, brimming with limitless possibilities born from the shadows he had embraced and the light he had uncovered. As Perseus approached the familiar outlines of his village, the golden hues of the late afternoon sun shed a warm glow upon the fields, rich with the bounty of harvest. The people toiling there paused, eyes widening as they recognized the figure making his way along the winding path. News of his triumph over the formidable Medusa had, like a gentle breeze, preceded him, whispers of his courage and cleverness coating the village in an air of anticipation. Upon entering the village, Perseus was met with a chorus of cheers and songs of admiration. The community, vibrant and bustling, gathered around, cradling him within their welcoming embrace. Banners waved overhead in vibrant shades of bronze and copper, while the scent of freshly harvested crops filled the air. The joy in the eyes that met his spoke of relief and pride, a testament to the hope that had remained even during his precarious journey. In the heart of the village, those who had once worried over his absence and the uncertainties of his mission now listened intently as stories of his adventures began to circulate. Old tales shared by the wise and young merged with new tellings of Perseus's courage, weaving a tapestry of mystery and heroism. Each anecdote carried remnants of lessons learned, stories transcending myth to inspire bravery and wisdom among the villagers. Perseus, amid the celebration, found moments to reflect quietly on his path. His gratitude was profound for Hermes and Athena, whose divine interventions had been his guiding stars throughout the perilous Odyssey. He recalled Hermes' swift wisdom, which had steered him clear of danger, and Athena's strategic brilliance that had turned the tide in his favor. In these silent moments, he felt not only a hero, but a vessel for the profound wisdom of the gods, charged with passing these gifts on to his people. The transformation Perseus underwent on his journey was evident in the way his people now regarded him. He was not merely the brave hunter of Medusa, he embodied the values and lessons imparted through his trials. His story was no longer just his own, but a shared narrative, influencing how myths and reality intertwined in the collective consciousness of the village. Through Perseus, the story of courage in the face of the unknown found new life and relevance. As the day wore on, and celebrations turned to quiet gatherings under the gentle hues of the setting sun, the stories continued to ebb and flow through the community. They spoke of the ancient wisdom passed down by the Graeae, of challenges met with cunning and courage, and of divine aid that spurred mortal endeavor. In this seamless fusion of myth and reality, the villagers found strength and solace, understanding that their lives, much like Perseus, were entwined within these timeless narratives. Perseus, feeling the weight of his journey lift in the warmth of familiar faces, began to plan his tribute to the divine supporters who had ensured his victory. The legacy of his quest was not only the head of Medusa, safely secured and wielded with care, but also a bridge, connecting mortal aspirations with divine possibility. It became clear that his tale was part of a larger tapestry, accentuating the enduring impact of wisdom and courage. As twilight enveloped the village, the festivities softened into a hushed reverence, each person now contemplative of the tales told. Perseus stood among them, absorbing the unspoken acknowledgement of the mysteries he had unraveled. His journey, once a solitary challenge, had now become a communal touchstone, an emblem of hope and the perpetual search for understanding. In this reflective silence, Perseus prepared for the days ahead, filled with visions of paying homage to the gods and enriching his people's lives with the tales entwined in his soul. The narrative of his journey was set to ripple through time, echoing in the hearts of those who would listen, perpetuating the wisdom born from the shadows of myth and the light of reality. As the day's warmth began to surrender to the cool embrace of evening, Perseus found himself standing on a gentle hilltop. The valley below stretched towards a tranquil seascape, painted in hues of burnt orange and violet by the setting sun. Here, atop this serene rise, Perseus had chosen to honor those who had guided and inspired him throughout his journey. He set his sight on the task at hand, building a monument from carved stones, each selected with purpose and care, reflecting the strength and wisdom he had gained. This monument was not just a tribute to his own triumph over Medusa, but a homage to the unwavering support of his mother, who had instilled in him the courage to embark on such a perilous journey. Alongside this dedication, Perseus carved into the stone symbols of Hermes and Athena, embodying their divine wisdom and guidance that had been crucial to his quest. These etchings would serve as everlasting reminders of their invaluable gifts, the swift counsel of Hermes and the strategic brilliance of Athena. Around the hilltop, villagers gathered for the monument's dedication, their faces illuminated by the fading light. These people had heard the tales of Perseus's adventure, tales that swirled together the rich tapestry of myth and reality. As they listened to the retelling of Perseus' journey, an aura of silent reflection descended. The communal gathering turned into a moment of collective reverie, each individual contemplating the lessons embedded within the hero's story. Perseus stood quietly, allowing the chorus of memories to envelop him. It was during this introspective pause that the enduring nature of myths resonated most profoundly. These stories, though ancient, carried voices of hope and wisdom that echoed through the ages, connecting past to present in an unbroken chain. Here, perched upon the hill, Perseus understood that his tale was but a thread in the vast fabric of endless storytelling, a tapestry woven with the timeless strands of human endeavor. With thoughtful eyes cast over the horizon, Perseus contemplated the delicate boundary between myth and reality. His journey had taught him that myths were not mere concoctions of fancy, but vessels of truth and wisdom, distilled through the ages to offer guidance and inspiration. Through his own experiences, he had become intimately acquainted with the reality that lay within the mythical framework, an encounter imprinted not only upon him but upon his community as well. The cycle of storytelling was as evergreen as the grasses that swayed gently in the evening breeze around him. Perseus realized that just as he had learned from the tales of old, future generations would draw from his story, finding courage and insight in his trials and triumphs. This ever-renewing cycle was as immutable as the Earth's own rhythm, echoing the lessons and the legacy of shadows from which heroes like him emerged. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the monument, Perseus lingered a moment longer. Here, encircled by the gentle embrace of nature and the community he cherished, he felt the eternal presence of those stories of bravery and wisdom. They whispered through the winds, ready to be passed on, refolded, and retold, always available to those who dared to listen. Thus concluded the tale of Perseus and the Graeae, a narrative etched into the stones and hearts of those who would carry it forward. A gentle calm settled upon the gathering, and as the stars began to unveil their own celestial stories in the night sky, Perseus turned away with a renewed understanding that his journey had forged a path, glowing with the light of shared knowledge, laid out for the eternal reverie of all who might follow.